welcome to the Afterburn Soccer Show. We are live to talk about a very eventful weekend for FC Dallas fans, for North Texas fans, as we look ahead, as we think about this season, as we think about this 2024 season and what it means for FC Dallas and for the fans, for North Texas, for the franchise as a whole. Congratulations to Liam Frazier for an incredible hit there against Minnesota off of the short corner. Let's be real, we haven't experienced many short corner success stories as FC Dallas fans, but on Saturday evening late, we saw one successful opportunity, an incredible classy goal from Liam Frazier to equalize for FC Dallas against Minnesota United FC. Welcome to the show, everybody. We're getting going here. I'm expecting Jose to join me. I'm expecting a special guest to join me as well. I'm just sort of waiting to see like who else shows. Not seeing anybody else other than Jose being a couple minutes late. So hang tight, everybody. Okay, Colin is booting up now. Jose is going to be 5 minutes late. Well, let's talk about the weekend first as we get going. Let's set the stage for the evening of action. So, Saturday night, FC Dallas visited Minnesota United FC. It was a fascinating match because Minnesota was missing up to like 9+ players for international call-ups and injury. FC Dallas was coming in with a mostly healthy squad. We expected Dallas to take this opportunity to sort of shift the narrative, shift the results, shift into a new direction. And while an away point on the road in this league is never a bad thing, in Major League Soccer is never a bad thing. Here comes Colin. Hey, Colin, welcome, buddy.
Hello.
I'm just sort of setting the stage. While an away point on the road is never a bad thing in this league, for FC Dallas to not take advantage of the opportunity to get a win against a team that was missing 9+ starters was pretty disappointing. It was a pretty disappointing performance, even though Nico acknowledged after the game that, hey, we dominated the statistics, right? So that's the framing. And then, of course, on Sunday, we get the news that Dan Hunt and FC Dallas have decided to part ways with Nico Estevez as head coach.
Yep.
All of the questions that come with that. Meanwhile, North Texas goes on and they dominate 3-0 at Minnesota United FC 2, including a few players that played against FC Dallas. They just dominated.
Yep.
It was a nice performance. Jose's going to join us in a minute, but Colin is here with us. Let's just get the reactions. Colin, Nico is out as FC Dallas head coach. It's, he came into this team with a sort of, an agenda to connect FC Dallas, who is producing a lot of talent, with the national team. Here we are 3 years later. It wasn't working. What are you feeling as an FC Dallas fan? What is your reaction to this news?
Man, I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm feeling like I like Nico as a guy. I want to preface that before I give my honest opinion. When they visited Wichita Falls for preseason training, he came up and showed his appreciation. He's like, I can't believe you drive all this way. Like, the bus ride here was not the greatest. I appreciate you making the trip. And he's an all-around great guy. But I know a lot of people online are saying, there's so many different factors that are, like, hindering him. Like, maybe, like the biggest thing is like the roster or like what Zanata has done with the contracts. Here's the thing, right, with this coach. His roster has gotten better year by year by year. We look at it on paper, it's gotten better. Yeah, we've offloaded some like homegrown talent in Cervania and replaced him with not a great option in Jimenez. But did it really hinder the roster that much? Not really. We got rid of Edwin, used that GAM to bring in and buy down, Paul Aiolo to bring in Musa. I mean, there's some moves that were made by this team to make the roster better. But 2021, we were from third place. Last year, granted with injuries, went down to seventh place, had a month and a half of almost draw straight. And this year, we're second bottom. And while he did try some new tactics this season, and I was really excited for him at first, thinking that they would work, it just didn't end up working. So I'm excited. I wish Nico the best. Don't get me wrong, but I'm kind of excited for a new head coach. I'm ready to see Peter get his deserved shot, and from what I'm hearing and seeing, there might be some outside candidates that FC Dallas might be looking at too. So, but with everything looking at Nico, I'm excited. I think he lasted a little bit longer than he deserved, but I'm excited to see where we're gonna go now that the Nico era, Nico ball is over.
Jose, welcome. You're just hearing a bit of Colin at Mr. Couve and now Chico at Jose at El Chico Carmona on X. Kind of just some reaction to the departure of Nico Estevez as head coach of FC Dallas. Jose, your reactions to this move, was it early? Was it late? Was it, I don't know.
I mean, by Dan Hunt standards, it's early, in all honesty. I don't think anyone will argue the fact that it was time for Nico to go. Very likable coach, but at the end of the day, even though we can make a lot of excuses for him with injuries and whatnot, the truth is his inflexibility is what did him in. He was dead set on going to a 3-man backline. But let's face it, with the injuries and everything, he simply did not have the personnel to run that, and he stuck to it. And it honestly is what has cost him, in the end, to lose his job. And very likable guy, but at the end of the day, the results is what matters. And I'm more stunned than that Dan Hunt pulled the trigger on firing him. But in the end, it's a good thing. At the end, it's a good thing. I told you the one thing that would get him fired is if he starts hurting the attendance and what they've got going with the sellouts. Well, it's going to be hard to keep those sellouts going if you're bottom of the table, which Dallas may not be there, but let's face it, they're one result away from being there, which is pretty much just close enough.
Right. And when the Apple TV Major League Soccer commentators on the live show, we lost Couve, by the way. Hopefully he gets back with us here shortly.
He said, please.
We lost him. Yeah, his camera froze for some reason. We'll figure it out. But when the commentators who don't have a super strong connection with FC Dallas are on the live stream are talking about, man, there's probably not another goal from either team for this match. It's a sign that the soccer product on the field is not necessarily exciting. Now, granted, I started the show off by saying, an away point is never a bad thing in this league or any league. In most leagues, you get an away point against your opponent, you take it to the bank, you roll with it, you celebrate it. But this wasn't just an away point for FC Dallas. Minnesota was missing
12 players.
12 players. They had homegrowns making debuts. They had guys called up from their MLS Next Pro team. And still, FC Dallas had a game plan which didn't take advantage of that scenario. And I think that's, you're watching that game for Dallas. They're controlling possession late, and their center backs have the ball, and they're just waiting for someone to make a play. It was a sign that this team was out of ideas and was not set up to maybe take advantage of the points that were offered for them. I mean, had Nico won this game, I don't think he would have been fired yet. I think he would have been given a little bit longer. What do you think, Jose?
Well, I agree, but again, we go back to his lack of flexibility. There are things he can do to make up for the lack of playmaker. I mean, old school, just boot it over the top, and there are adjustments you can make. I mean, you can play for the set pieces. If you're not going to be good at making plays, making attacking plays, do what half the opponents that we play do, which is, hold on to the ball and make sure you get fouled, or at least pretend to get fouled near the box and play for set pieces. That's something he could have done. And with an experienced opponent on the other side, you would think that would be something they could have gone to. Like I said, Nico, as nice as he is, and there's something to be said about sticking to your guns, but everyone in the world could see that it wasn't working.
It wasn't working.
He simply didn't appear to have a plan B, or was. I'm not saying he's shown that he has a plan B, but he simply was unwilling to go there and commit to it, and ultimately it's one of the lessons of being a first-time manager is you have to learn to conform your tactics to the players available to you, and Nico just was unwilling to do that.
Just tossing up a few tweets that had gone out from FC Dallas players acknowledging Nico's departure and acknowledging sort of the love and appreciation they had for this head coach, Paul Arriola. Thank you for believing in me. Thank you for trusting me. Thank you for helping me grow and push to always give more. All right, hold on. Kuv is back with us. Have no idea what technical issues happened, but such is life. Alan Velasco acknowledging Nico's departure. Martin Paz acknowledging Nico as one of the hardest working managers these 2.5 years. One of the questions was that Nico had lost his team, but it's apparent that he didn't lose the trust or focus of the team. And yet something was missing. So let's Jose, Kuv, I want you guys to just get your reaction to from his last post-game conference. Here's one of his reactions to my question.
At times tonight, you said the team wasn't playing fast enough. It looked like they lacked urgency enough that I think the commentators were talking about that as well during the match, especially late on. How do you try to light that fire and to get the team really pushing harder, maybe, and taking advantage of those opportunities rather than sort of, I don't know, seeming to wait for everyone else to make a play?
Well, I think there is two things here, right? We're playing against a really, really good, fast team, right? They have athletes. Then every time you lose the ball, it's a counterattack, and it's a possibility to concede a goal. Then what I like is to have a control build up in order to advance the ball in the right time to not lose the ball centrally or in areas that the opponent can counterattack, because we had some issues in the first half and also not that much in the second half, but some issues in the first half, and it was because we were losing a lot of balls in the middle. Then when that happened, the player sometimes overthink and doesn't want to make a mistake, right? Because in the first half we had a couple mistakes there, losing the ball, and the opponent had a counterattacks. And this overthink, it makes the game slower. And this is what happened. And I think one thing that we changed in the second half, and probably, I don't know if the guys in the TV saw it, but probably not. It was to play more direct, and you saw more long balls to Marco, to Paul, to Petar, to Jesus, to Eugene when it came in, to Bernard. And we were more vertical and direct than the first half. And this is the adjustment that we did at halftime, because they are playing with a high line. They don't give a space in the middle, and their top three works really hard, and then it's really, really difficult to penetrate through the middle. And this is why we weren't able to get those combinations that we got against LFC and speed it up the game. Then the only way to speed it up the game, it was or an individual action, or a moment that we did well, and then draw the opponent and find in between lines, or play in behind the back line. And I think at the end we hesitate a little bit in some of the runs that Eugene made and Bernard made, and this is what it made us slower at the end. And this is why also I'm disappointed, like how we cannot see those runs and those moments where the players are doing that. And the explanation, it could be because we're not a team that used to do that, and we had to adapt. And I think we did a decent job in the second half on that, but it wasn't good enough to create that. Probably we'll be talking different if Bernard header, and then the second action we scored a goal, and we win the game, and everyone will say, okay, it's a solid performance, very controlled game, and a goal, it changed the perspective of everyone. But it's true that we played it slow. It's true.
This is what I love about Nico. Hold on. Now, Colin, I know you're shaking your head, but like, I feel like Nico is the kind of coach that you want to get into the weeds about, like tactical decisions, about shape, about tactics. You have a long and interesting conversation. You learn about the intricacies of the game. And yes, he acknowledges that, like, Minnesota went up 1-0. The FC Dallas equalized. They were not going to give up anything more. They made life difficult for FC Dallas. And yes, one decision goes a little bit different in FC Dallas. We all go like, hey, they got 3 points. Nico still has his job. Maybe, I get it. And yet, there's a disconnect there in his comment. There's a disconnect of sort of like, is this what FC Dallas fans want to watch when we sit down and click on the stream for FC Dallas against Minnesota? Is this what we want to watch when we show up in Frisco? Is this the kind of play where we just hope to sort of, manage the game and find that one extra goal to win? So let's get some reactions. Jose, what did you think about Nico's answer to my question?
I mean, it's fine and everything that he admitted to what you pointed out, but it's still, I don't know. I don't think he really truly answered the question. For me, I think he tries to say, I don't know. I guess by him admitting that, what I'm getting at is one of the reasons you see him get fired is he goes out there, admits that the team could have done more to potentially win that match. And as an owner, you're seeing a team that fielded probably its healthiest lineup. It's fielded all year against a team that's there for the taking, road game or not. You should get a result against a team like that, and I applaud him for admitting it, but at the same time, if you're the owner and you're hearing this, you got to say, man, how can I have this guy continue when we're looking at the worst start in history staring us in the face? So that's my take anyway.
Kuv, go.
Oh man, where do I start? Looking at it from a coaching perspective and looking at this roster and how we've played in the past, if we're playing slow, we used to play very quick, like in our build-up last year. Even when we had our injuries, playing the 4-2-3-1 or 4-4-2, Nico loved his 4-4-2. Maybe that comes from playing in relegation battle of Spain. Maybe that comes from his history with Greg Berhalter playing the 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3. But it worked, right? And this season, I remember he told me, like, obviously in Wichita Falls, keep it on the down low, but like, hey, we're gonna be playing a three at the back system. I'm really excited about it, and I'm looking at the roster and I'm like, it could work, but it was something that I was interested in. But he complains about being too slow. I don't even know if the players know what they need to be doing when they're out there. Because you look at our wingbacks, when you have a three at the back, or five at the back, whatever you want to call it. I look at it as a 3-4-2-1, and we have two cams or like central attacking wingers that can start in the mid and can condense and compact for defense, but then burst wide or go through the middle. And we have so many overlap options. Something that annoys me with this team when they play three at the back is he says they play slow. Players would make the run, but no one plays the pass. And it's as if they're scared to lose possession. You can't play three at the back and be scared to lose possession and play slow. Because one back pass, I mean, it happened on the goal in the build-up against Minnesota. One bad pass in the three back, you're done. In the build-up, it's over. So many bad passes in the three backs what cost us goals in games this season. So him saying we're playing slow, it's an easy solution, Nico. Take one defender out of the game, a center back, most likely take either Jonqua or Farfan out, put Kumungo on the field, and run your 4-2-3-1 with Jesus as like a center forward striker type of duo, and let the game free flow. You're on the road. Supposedly, if they fired him not even 24 hours after the game, your job's on the line, and I doubt that he didn't know that. You got to go for it, man. And there was no sense of urgency to go for it. And, he says that he kind of avoided your question, like Jose said, and how we saw there, but there's so many answers that he could give you to easily answer that question. And it seems like he's trying to justify his actions rather than realize I messed up. And that seems to be a lot of what Nico's been doing, especially this last month. So I see it as Nico kind of deflecting and trying to keep his job, which I respect. I mean, obviously, as a coach, you don't want to just be up there all the time being like, hey, we messed up, we suck.
Right.
But the answers from the past 2 years are staring you right at the face. You have the answers, you have the game plan, you have the practically same roster that did that. Give it a shot. You know what I mean? That's what's annoyed me most this season is he hasn't, like, when in doubt, revert back to what worked. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. He tried to be too fancy, and he's not Will Fernandez.
Yeah.
Let's face it, we all knew that the lineup was wrong for the personnel. We don't have the proper wing backs for it. I mean, sure, we have Farfan now, but we didn't have him for most of the early season. Tomasi wasn't healthy, and I doubt that he's 100% yet. I don't even think he's in full season form yet. You're forced to start Hunkwa as your third center back, and I mean, maybe it would have worked if you were healthy. If you had Giovanni, if you had Paxton, if you had Velasco, but you don't.
Right.
So at some point, he should have realized that, okay, we can use it, but we need to have a secondary option and maybe go with what the players know and implement the three-man back line for when we get Giovanni, for when we get Velasco. But let's face it, everyone can see that he did not have the right personnel for this formation. And I get it, he was trying to make it work, but my goodness. I'm curious, just like everybody else, to see what formation Luccen's gonna roll out.
Right.
I doubt it's a 3-man back line, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. Like FC Dallas fans should recognize is like, while the 3-5-2 hasn't led to much success, although there have been a couple of moments where you're like, okay, I could see sort of what they're going for. But with the center backs available to them, and Ibiaga, who I have no problem with as a sort of a veteran MLS guy, and Tafari as a solid MLS player. Yeah, you could also ask the question of like, when was, and I think Steve Davis pointed this out on his Substack, like, when is it trying to put a square into a round peg, right? When is it you're just trying to make something work that may be a good idea long term, but if there's not the right players, if there's not the right setup, it's not going to quite work. And yeah, maybe if you're lucky, and maybe if you're lucky, it works out and it flows, and you get the right guys in the place and they're able to adjust. But like, you had Farfan out injured, you had Ferreira out injured for a stretch of this. It's just tough. Like Nico was committed to his approach, which is a sign of a good leader. Like, hey, I'm going to commit to this, but if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Like, at some point, you've got to shift into a new direction. So I don't know either. Like,
I mean, it's worse than that. He wasn't just trying to put a square into a circular hole. He was trying to put an oversized square into a small circular hole. I mean, we could see all the flaws in the lineup, and yes, there were moments, fleeting as they were, but let's face it, this team never put two good halves together. Never. And even when they did put a good half together, it wasn't a full half. It was maybe 30 minutes tops. And that's just, like I said, my problem was and has been with Nico from day one is his teams come out of preseason looking still in preseason. And this team is just now starting to look in season form. And the team simply seems to be behind everybody else in MLS playing catch up. Could the injuries be the issue of that? Sure. But it's not just the players coming back from injury, it's the players that are on the field that are playing like they're not ready for the season. And look at how far we are into the season. And to say that only in the past month they've started to look, and that's just the players that have been on the field all the time. I'm not talking about the players coming back from injury. Just the players that have been on the field all the time are starting to look like they're in season form finally. And that has been an issue every year with Nico. And the only difference is that his first season, he didn't have to deal with injuries. And a lot of other teams that they played early in the season were in the same boat. That hasn't been the issue the last 2 years. The last 2 years, the team has looked in preseason form for the majority of the first half of the season, while other teams have not. And so it goes beyond the injuries. The injuries adds to it. But there's got to be something there that set us up for failure, or set Nico up for failure, besides the fact that he was unwilling to step away from the 3-5-3 experiment.
Well, let me say this. Like, you can blame the formation easily, but then you look at North Texas Soccer Club, who are number one in the MLS Next Pro Western Conference. A lot of young, dynamic players, the same frickin' formation, but don't have the hesitation. Don't have, I mean, like, they're not sitting there with, the center back controlling the ball late in the game. I mean, they're always getting the ball forward. They're looking for opportunities to attack. They're
not playing in the same. They don't play in the same style as a senior team. They play a completely different version of the 3-5-3, and you could say that they too lack a playmaker. and yet they have found a way to make it work. Or Nico simply was unwilling. Like I said, he was unwilling to alter his game plan, or if he was trying to alter his game plan, the players just weren't pulling it off for whatever the reason. But like you said, North Texas, they run the same formation, but they're playing it in a completely different way. And I would not be stunned if Luccin comes in and runs the same formation, but simply plays it more like North Texas does. And we're like, we will be stunned that it's not, that this is the same team, simply because they're playing a different way.
So let's pause and just say congratulations to North Texas Soccer Club, a 3-0 win against Minnesota United FC2. By the way, against a couple of players that played against the senior team, just absolutely dominated. Incredible performance. And Logan Farrington getting a start. So let's talk about then, let's shift. We're trying to keep the show to 30, 40 minutes. Kuv.
Too much going on for that this week.
Who is gonna? What's the ideal candidate that you want to see take over FC Dallas?
Ideal candidate? Let's hit up Jurgen Klopp, Xavi, but nah. Keeping it in the realm of realism. I think there's only one name that comes to mind. It's Eric Quill. And when you look at his resume, he knows FC Dallas' goal. Obviously, it's changed a little bit since he was at North Texas, but he helped lead North Texas to USL League One championship in his first season. That team was obviously a amazing team. Had some FC Dallas players kind of, don't want to say carry, but he's one of those coaches that he doesn't take any crap from anyone. He could be the best player on the roster, but if they're having a bad run of form, and some young guy or some guy on the bench is playing better, he's playing them. And I think that's something that this roster needs, is not only a wake-up call, but a coach is going to put the best lineup and the best players out there. Something that bugs me with Nico, and it kind of ties into North Texas, is you look at that North Texas roster, there's easily 2 to 3 players that could get that call up to FC Dallas and help this team tremendously. I mean, look at what Noah Norris did in Houston. He locked up Ache. That's not easy to do. You got players like Coast, who we say is a top MLS center back. We have players that have been in the league for a long time, that have played a long time, saying Ache is a really good player. And by the eye test, he is a good player. And for him to lock him up for 60 minutes or however many minutes Noah Norris played, it's a testament to how good the kid is. He's captaining the youth national teams with and it blows my mind how one of the biggest complaints and some of the things that we've seen from Nico is that we're too slow in the build-up, or we have no options. If you put another passer like Noah Norris next to Laura Mindy, and let Laura Mindy maybe mold Norris as a passer of the ball, with his defensive ability, his quickness for his age at DM, you could put him at center back or at DM, and he's a great fit. Also, I don't know how, but Farrington is playing in North Texas SC. He can start for multiple MLS clubs. He can probably go down to Austin and start at striker. Okay, that's not a diss at Austin. That's just showing how good he is. And then Sally, I get he's small. I get he's young. I get he's not maybe the best for MLS, but give the kid a shot. I mean, he's been showing it in MLS Next Pro, his technical ability alone. He has it. He's been getting on the score sheet recently. Maybe give him a 15-minute, 10-minute run at home if we're up, or even if we need a goal, let him run around and see what he can do. But if I'm going back to the question and kind of throwing my North Texas SC opinions in there, I'm going Eric Krill. And some of the other reasons would be look at New Mexico United this season. He's changing up the lineup. He's changing up the tactics. He's playing to his opponent while also using his roster strength. He doesn't play around. He's got his team to the round of 16 in the Open Cup, and comfortably, may I add, not like these little extra time or penalty wins, comfortably against MLS opposition, I believe, in the last round. And you look at New Mexico's roster, it's not the strongest roster. So that kind of shows his coaching ability a little bit to me. So, and I know FC Dallas likes to keep it in the family a little bit. Some people in the Third Degree Discord, literally right now, are talking about Eric Krill, maybe Gall getting promoted from North Texas SC. Someone jokingly said Lucci, and some people are agreeing, and I'm like, why? But Dallas keeps it in the family.
Mm.
And it would be Nico was the first person that we went outside the family on, and even then it was kind of linked in with how he knew Lucci, and then how Lucci knew Berhalter, and it's like this triangle that goes back to FC Dallas.
Yeah. There was a logic to it of like sort of like, and you had a group of FC Dallas players getting more in the national team picture, so there was sort of like this. Let's build on the national team like sort of pipeline. Cool, good thought, but it doesn't always work that way, right?
Okay, can I throw my name out there?
I guess you're on the show. Might as well, right?
Luccin. I mean, let's face it. Luccin has been handed a favorable, and I mean a very favorable schedule to take over FC Dallas. And we're talking not just a little favorable, we're talking like overwhelmingly favorable. For example, Lucci just got fired after playing 4 of the top teams in the West back to back to back to back. Luccin is stepping in, and 6 of the next 8 matches, MLS matches, are at home.
Okay.
And the opposition that we're playing on the road in the next 9 MLS matches, we're playing at Seattle, at Sporting Kansas City, and at New England. We're talking, as far as opposition, Luccin has the potential to come in and get positive results because the level of opposition is dropping significantly. We're FC Dallas is going to be playing a stretch of playing the bottom feeders of the Western Conference, and if Luccin starts getting results simply based on the level of opposition, let's face it, FC Dallas isn't the world beater either. But these are teams that he should be able to get results against. He has the potential to simply take this team on a run and make it his. And maybe the team doesn't have to look out, because I'm telling you, the next 6 opponents at home are St. Louis, Minnesota, Cincinnati, tough one, Portland, the Galaxy, and I forgot who the other team is. Let me check real quick.
Austin.
And that would be Austin.
Yep.
And you told me.
I mean, Jose, I think I agree with you. I think game states always matter in soccer, but also there's something about Major League Soccer that rewards these certain kinds of coaches who can come in, who know what players experience, and can bring some of that levity into the match. So, like Ben Olsen, who I don't think anyone would say would be like a national team kind of coach, and yet can step into Houston and get an improvement out of a squad, right? Or a Pablo Mastroeni, who can get RSL to a higher level than they thought they could be. Because, one, he knows what it's like to be a player in this league. So there's something about Peter Luccin that I'm intrigued about just on that level, right? Like, just like, hey, step in and say, like, I know the grind. I know how weird it is to play against different teams on the road, at home. And yet, here's what we can do on a pragmatical basis. Pragmatical. I don't know if that's a word, but a pragmatic basis.
What I'm getting at is Peter Luccin, he has a chance to make a run with this team. And I'm not saying necessarily gain the job outright, although I think that's a possibility. But at least to a point where he'll be given a chance to simply ride out the season, and then the team can decide if they want to make him the head coach. I mean, the manager, or go outside. But I'm just saying the schedule coming up is way more favorable to FC Dallas than the previous 10 matches have been. So and that would also explain why Nico is gone, because if you're going to put in an interim, you want to give him a favorable schedule to step in and ease into the job. So I'm, like I said, why not Luccin? Let's see what he can offer. And I think if he simply goes back to a 4-man formation, and we know what this team can do in that formation, and the team is as healthy as it has been, I think this team can at home can get some results and at least set us back, away from the bottom of the pack.
Kuv, I want you to step in here. Is just your thoughts on that? Is this team just a few tweaks away from competing over the course of the season?
I mean, I can see it. Just looking at the table, we are. Let me pull it back up real quick. I believe we're 2 games in hand, 7 points out of the final playoff spot, right? And kind of like what kind of like what Jose was saying earlier. We've played a lot of our tough games already, and maybe that kind of LAFC away, always a tough game. We played Houston away already, always a tough game. We've played Austin away already, rivalry game. We played
LAG.
Toronto away. We played Montreal at home. We played Red Bulls away, which for some reason always kills us. Don't ask me why. But a lot of those road games at the beginning of the season, I was like, ooh, I don't know. They're already out of the way. The only road games I'm really scared about are going to be Seattle, and that's because it's Seattle. We don't do good in Seattle. And that's really it with the rest of the season. I mean, New England should be nothing but a win. Maybe DC, because I feel like DC is streaky, but maybe we get a win there. And Vancouver's it. Vancouver, Seattle. So you look at these road games, and they have a good chunk of home games too. We don't talk about RSL, all right? Hey, every time you play RSL away these past 3 seasons, I don't think we've lost. Jesus
This is true.
Ferreira went off last year for a brace
This is
because
true.
we had that long run.
We are their bogey team, so I agree.
Yeah. So I'm not that worried about RSL away, even though. Plus, I think the boys will be fired up from that 3-3 draw. Which, don't get me started on that. But I think we can turn it around for sure. And because you look at the table, right? And this isn't like trying to talk down on other teams in the West, but the West this year is probably the weakest it's been in a long, long time. I mean, you got teams like Seattle not doing well, Kansas City not doing well, St. Louis, who are defensively stout. They're kind of having an Austin year, right? So last year they performed, I think it was 21 points above expected points, and they kind of had an Austin regression to the mean.
Yep.
Colorado Rapids are in playoffs, guys. This is doable, okay? Houston, who have been not great, are in playoffs. Austin FC, who are not the greatest, are in 6th place in the West. Looking at our roster compared to some of these on paper, if we can get the right run of form going and take advantage of what, like Jose said, these next 6 to 7 games, which is a pretty easy go a little bit compared to what we've had, I think we got those 2 games in hand. I think we turn those 2 games in hand into 6 points because they come on Austin at home, and then the other makeup game, I believe, is going to be let's see here. It's going to be it's going to be Portland at home. for 4th of July. So Portland, that's a 6-point game right there. That's a keep them from getting 3, you catch 3 up. That's a 6-point game right there. And then New England or in Austin, I mean, that's easily 9 points we can get.
Don't forget that we play the same Minnesota team that they just drew against on the 19th of this month, which is,
Yep.
9 days to go or something like that?
Yep, and they're going to be missing at least 3 players for Euros. So, and
It's not
those
going
3
to be a
players.
much stronger team. It's not going to be a much stronger team than the one they played, in all honesty.
Nope, not at all. So, and I think we're kind of blessed this year with how bad we've been, because that means that we're keeping Peter Luccin. He was a big question mark for the Euros. We're keeping Jesus from Copa America. We're keeping a lot of our players that might have been in that conversation for international duty. And some of these better teams and even some of these worse teams, they have some of their key players gone. This summer usually is a FC Dallas slump, but if we want a chance, it's got to be an FC Dallas growth. And I think Peter can do it. Peter will light a fire
If
under him
this
and let him
team
hear
can
it.
get results at home in their next 6 matches and preferably more wins than draws, this team can do a complete U-turn on the season. And I'm just saying, if that is to
100%.
happen, then why not Luccin as the full-time coach if he wants it?
Yeah,
We don't know if
I
he
mean,
wants it.
yeah, true.
That's right.
And I mean, Luccin has that extended history playing some damn good teams. So he has some
He
experience that
knows.
he can.
Right.
Yep.
That's right. That's why there is a huge question mark about Peter Luccin, because of his experience and his connections with the team. Like, what does this look like? How do other players perceive him? What pragmatism will he bring to the formation, to the lineup? And then longer term, Eric Quill, John Gall, who is just working wonders with North Texas. The door is open wide, right? Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, we would all prefer somebody with connections to FC Dallas that knows the roster and can step in
Sure.
and maximize the potential of the players available.
Yeah, at least this year, because
Well, yeah.
I want if we're gonna hire someone outside, they gotta have that. Even though we can't really sign that many players, but he's gotta have that November to February. Okay, here's my roster. Here's how they performed. Let's look at the analytics. All right, let's look at the squad. All right, let's see what tactics I want to bring. Can we make that mold and fit? And then that's a busy time to start trading players in MLS, get some of that salary cap off. All I'm saying is this summer, from the little birdies that I know, expect a center back that is not familiarly known like an Mendy, but is well known in the MLS community. And expect a central midfielder that can pass the ball like Mendy. That's what I've been told.
All right.
And that's what this
Okay.
team needs.
Mm-hmm.
And if the team gets away from the 3-man back line, then we don't need to bring in a wing back, because that'll solve itself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well,
my question for you guys, since we're nearing the end here, is if the team goes away from a 3-man back line, which players are gonna win, and which players are gonna be the big winner if the team ditches the 3-man back line, and which player is going to be the big loser? Nate?
Kamungo. I think Bernard is a chaos agent. I think, like, give him space, time. I mean, yeah, he's young. He's not going to be perfect all the time, but, like, give him an opportunity to get out wide or come inside, create opportunities. You're going to love the return on what the kid brings, right? And right now, he just hasn't been there. The opportunity, his development has been stalled. So I think, like, create the opportunity for him to start every match. We'll see what he can bring.
You know, someone that There's two players, and one of them you're probably going to be having like a puzzled look. But I think one player that wins is Ibeagha. He doesn't have to rely on his passing ability no more. He showed last season with us that he can defend pretty well. But him playing that right center back role when we're down a goal or on the counterattack, he's getting beat all the time. Coast is having to bail him out, or sometimes he's having to stick it out because Omar can't bail him out. And I think his passing ability in that 3-back is what kills him and what burns him. So I think he'll be a big winner going back to that 4-back. It'll definitely shore up the defense a lot in that way. But I think a big winner is going to be Jesus Ferreira. Now, let me cook. So,
All right.
Jesus, you see him in this 3-back all the time. He gets annoyed. He's getting annoyed that the ball's not being progressed. He's like looking at Laramendi, screaming for the ball, like 2 yards away from him, like, hey, give me the ball, let's go, let's go, let's go. He's trying to get the attack going. You see the intensity. You see Petter trying to make these passes or the movements in behind, trying to drag the defenders out or try to bring them in to give the room to those wingbacks. Like, they're the players that know what they're doing are trying to make it work. But these players that aren't as good are bringing it down. And Jesus is one of those that his temper got the best of him in the 3-back, it looked like. And I think that if he can go back to that central role, whether it's a center forward or even a cam type role, and can have that flexibility to kind of free roam in the middle of the park and link up with Laramendi naturally and not ruin that formation. Because, spoiler alert, every time he did it, they went down the opposite flank and got an easy attack 99% of the time. So I think another big winner of switching out of the 3-back would be Jesus Ferreira.
Nice.
Yeah, no, and I have to agree with Nathan in that Kamungo, I think, is the big winner because let's face it, he was excelling in the 4-man, in a 4-3-3, and I think any variation that goes to a 4-3-3 or a 4-5-1 or whatever suits him, and I think the 3-5-3 was simply detrimental to his growth.
Yep.
And I think the big loser is obviously Hunkwa, who is a good player, but he's not good enough to surpass Parfan, and I don't think he's good enough to surpass Ibeagha, so he becomes your third center back or backup fullback at best, and then you still have Omar he has to compete with. So I think seeing Kamungo, I think he's the big winner in this, and hopefully we get to see more of what we saw last season with him in a more comfortable position going forward.
I will tease. Junqua has said in the past he likes playing on the right, cutting in on his left, and he looks pretty good at right back. So if we go back to a 4-back
All right.
with how he's playing, I wouldn't be surprised seeing him at right back until Gio gets healthy because Emma hasn't looked good. Maybe Peter will be smart and do what I've been calling for. Let Herbie get some games at right back because he was the perfect wing back for this 3-back formation until Gio gets back.
And I want to agree with you, but at the same time, Tuamasi isn't really a wingback; he's a fullback. And the change of formation to a 4-man backline will actually help Tuamasi. And I'm not disagreeing that Junco will. I think Junco should get minutes there, and he needs to push Tuamasi, and I could see him getting minutes there. But I think it also a formation change would also help Tuamasi, who's a better defender and attacker, and would probably thrive in a 4-man backline as opposed to a 3-man backline.
Well, we need to leave the show there. It's been a very eventful weekend. We're reeling from the news that Nico is out as FCL's head coach. Peter Luccin is in. No idea what that means in the short term. Formation change. We'll see. And yet,
It means hope. It means
hope.
It means that God is good. God is good.
God is good. That's right. That's right. And North Texas, meanwhile, just dominating on the road, 3-0 win against Minnesota United FC2. Like, just an incredible team to watch. So if you're feeling disheartened, watch North Texas play because they will show you the possibilities of even this formation of what it can mean for you.
But let's be honest, North Texas is simply back to being North Texas. Last year was honestly an aberration by North Texas standards.
Yeah,
Yep.
That's right. We've had a good show. Colin, thank you for joining us. Chico, thank you for joining us. We'll leave it there. A lot to unpack this coming week as we get into this change and what it means for FC Dallas and for North Texas as we unfold. Good evening, everybody. Afterburn.soccer. All right.